Wealth is acquired based on how much you can keep, not how much you make. The first time that I saw this being used was when I was working in the back end of the HR department. That first moment was when I knew that something exists when it comes to money that many people are not quite aware of. A letter came through the mail, and the letter said exactly gift, declaration, and pledge card. 2 separate documents. And I was reading it and I thought, oh my God, people can actually do this. Of course, I did my part when put it where it's supposed to be. And I thought to myself, I'm going to keep track of what this actually does. Lo and behold, I looked at how the back end deduct things, and they took things away from this woman's paycheck. And there's a section in the box that we click that basically disqualifies them for taxation. And for that pay period, she was exempt from it, to prove that whatever given amount for each payroll has to be deducted. What I used to do when I used to work was I used to create a file, and I created attachments, and I labeled those attachments as deduction. Then I put each of those gift declaration and the acknowledgement into them, and I labeled them deduction, and I put the payroll period on one. I put the 2-page document of the gift declaration and the 1-page of acknowledgement. I put that. And I created another cover letter, payroll period. I put the 2-page gift declaration and the acknowledgement, and I do that for every month. If you really want to save your money, you got to be on it. It's called administration. These are things that, believe it or not, 12, 15, 16, 18-year-olds know about. See all those people with YouTube pages that have 15 million, 50 million, 100 million pages that you think they're just doing some silly stuff, those quote-unquote white kids? Their parents taught them these things. You, the one watching those videos or seeing those, you don't know what they're doing with these information behind closed doors. This is how they organize their stuff so that they don't qualify for any type of taxes from YouTube and wherever else is going on. You should know the same if you're going out there breaking your ass beyond just some mere entertainment. Most people who actually work and get taxed like a serf are the ones that are the backbone of society. They should know this too, and they should benefit from this. This is part of what financial education is. You should know it. Right here, exceptions, mandatory exceptions. Churches, their integrated auxiliaries, and convention or association of churches. Same thing herein. Churches and convention or association of churches. So this document, this is a document that is used if you want whatever amount that you're making from whatever workplace to be deducted as a non-taxable amount because it's used as a gift to your 508 entity. This document is on the website along with the instructions. So with time, I've been telling people you can do this, you can do that. There are 2 ways that you can take your amount from work and not have it qualify for taxes. One is by gifting that amount, aka wages of labor, or your sweat equity, to a religious organization, or its auxiliary, or a church. And according to the IRS, there are very, very, very specific criteria as to the type of document you need, the elements of what those documents should be, and the restrictions of it. We're going to go over that in this video. But before we go over that, the caveat is if it's not a form of liquid, aka wages, aka monies, aka sweat equity that you are gifting to the 508, and you're given personal property such as a vehicle or boat, or you're given a real property such as fixtures like minerals, or you're given real property such as land or a house, you'll be using Form 8283, which was explained briefly in that video thumbnail shown. So just so you know, if you're not using liquid as the amount that you're gifting to the 508 that you don't want to qualify for dinging, then this is what you use. So I'm going to dedicate a separate video to that. Again, if the property that you're gifting to the church, auxiliary, or charitable organization is not cash, then you'll be using 8283. That's going to be a separate video that subject matter will be dedicated to. But as for now, if it's cash that you're speaking of, which I've heard most people try to ask that constantly, so we might as well just go over it now. What you'll be using is schedule information. Why? So that what's in this document can make more sense, and you can see that all the elements have been embedded into this document. It's just a 2-page document. So let's get to it, shall we? Said in the past, schedule forms are what you use to deduct things. Within that schedule form, aka Schedule A, which was shown in that previous video, you will see a section that tells you if it's more than 250K, you put the amount there. Said in the past, schedule forms are what you use to deduct things. Within that schedule form, aka Schedule A, which was shown in that previous video, you will see a section that tells you if it's more than 250K, you put the amount there, along with certain requirements. So here's a gift of $250 or more. You can deduct a gift of $250 or more only, meaning there are specific criteria. So if it's under $250 that you're deducting from your paycheck, you don't have to do all this. But if it's more than $250, meaning $250.01, you have to meet this criteria. So if it's under $250 that you're deducting from your paycheck, you don't have to do all this. But if it's more than $250, meaning $250.01, you have to meet this criteria. You can deduct a gift of $250 or more only if you have a contemporaneous written acknowledgement from the charitable organization showing the information in 1 and 2 next. In other words, there has to be an acknowledgement or a document from the one you're giving the money to, aka a receipt, that you have performed such gift, you have performed such donation, making you a donor and the organization that's charitable a donee. Remember, religious entities can function for charitable purposes. Religious entities are classified as a church or auxiliaries according to 26 USC 508. And the key is contemporaneous written acknowledgement. Contemporaneous meaning it has to be continuous on a contractual basis. If you deduct a total of 50K within a year, you can't make one document to summarize it. Contemporaneous means for each paycheck that you deduct those charitable amount from as a gift, so that that amount is not qualified for dinging, you have to create something called a gift declaration or a pledge card. One of the two is what you use. The way you use it is an instruction to the document. 1, the amount of any money contributed and a description but not value of any property donated. So you don't necessarily declare the value on the document. It's a general explanation of the federal income tax law for organizations such as charities and churches that receive federal income tax deductible charitable contribution, and for donors who make contribution. In other words, you already know that the gift to that 508 entity who's a church or its auxiliary, that amount is deductible for them. The IRS imposes record keeping and substantiation rules on donors, meaning the one given the money, aka the employee. You have to have a record keeping and substantiating standard, making charitable contributions, and disclosure rules on charitable organizations that receive certain quid pro quo contribution from donors, meaning even exchange without liabilities involved. The disclosure rules involved is what I told you with acknowledgement. Disclosure rule is what you give to whoever is filing your taxes along with all the other documents you at the end of the year to prove that whatever given amount for each payroll has to be deducted. What I used to do when I used to work was I used to create a file and I create attachments and I labeled those attachments as deduction. Then I put each of those gift declaration and the acknowledgement into them, and I label them deduction, and I put the payroll period on one. I put the 2-page document of the gift declaration and the 1-page of acknowledgement. I put that. And I create another cover letter, payroll period. I put the 2-page gift declaration and the acknowledgement, and I do that for every month. If you really want to save your money, you got to be on it. It's called administration. But at some point, I trust that you'll be out of that rat race. But while you're still there, you need to get used to creating documents to organize your affairs. Many people just go to work every day getting screwed over by dinging, and they don't know they can just put their life into their hands like that. When it comes to tax time, they just get all the regular stuff from work and whatever else, and they don't even bother doing these basic things. And then whoever is doing the taxes for you does a Schedule A. If you know how to do the taxes, just put all the stuff together. Donors must have a record of the contribution or a timely written communication for any monetary contribution before donors can claim a charitable deduction on their federal income tax returns. Donors are responsible for obtaining contemporaneous written acknowledgement from a charitable organization for any single, meaning each pay period, monetary contribution or non-cash contribution. This is 8283, which we're not speaking of here, valued at $250 or more before donors can claim a charitable deduction on their federal income tax return. Charitable organizations are required to provide a written disclosure statement in quid pro quo charitable contribution where donors receive goods or services in exchange for a single payment in excess of $75. Those two documents that I mentioned, gift declaration, which you can use also as a pledge card, and also the acknowledgement that satisfies this requirement. It's a core part for that page. Page 2 of the PDF, charitable contribution. Record keeping rules. Monetary contribution requirement. A donor cannot, meaning the employee, cannot claim a federal income tax deduction for any monetary contribution unless the donor. Hey, I'm inviting you to come join the Patreon page. Not only do you get access to documents, posts, and videos that you will never find on any other platforms, you also get instant access to webinars that otherwise will cost far more. And we speak of things that usually we would not be able to speak of on any other platforms far more freely. On top of that, you get the opportunity to send me monthly questions along with everyone else's questions, so you can see other people going through similar circumstances. You never know. What you think might be a stupid question is quite often very valid. On top of that, you get access to monthly question and answer archives from several years back from people who have gone through it and people who are going through it. Get information regarding things you experience daily that you didn't even know you could take advantage of when it comes to business, work, or other personal things. There's a community of people where you can bounce information off of, and they can give you some tips and tricks based on what they're currently going through in their respective venues that you might maybe want to link up with. And there's a high likelihood you're not going to find them anywhere else. And you also get the access to directly send me messages. Oh, and also if you are a tier 4 member, you get access to yet another monthly meeting where we actually answer as much questions as we can, and we're between an hour and a half, and in some cases up to 4 hours. In addition to that, we also show some exclusive lessons that are not going to be posted on Patreon or anywhere else but the tier 4 meeting alone. So come forth, come join the 500 plus people already on Patreon. And in some cases, we even give certain things out. And while you're at it, you might want to check out the store, subtlesubstanceservices.com. There might be a few things you want to pick up in there.